Don't worry, Dan. You look beautiful. You look absolutely beautiful, my boy.
Oh, stop it.
That's all good. Keep talking.
Right, you two, stop sucking each other off. Let's get some charter. Right, we're live. I wish we weren't, because if ETH breaks 14, I'm just gonna, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm probably gonna start the OnlyFans again, decentralized OnlyFans coming to the blockchain.
Are we renewing our? Are you saying that we have to renew our subscriptions?
Yeah, we'll be sending out that to all family and friends just to support me through this hard time.
You do realize
Are we
going
going to put that referral link in our next newsletter? Is that what we're doing?
Yes, exactly that. That's exactly what we'll do.
Okay, great.
So, are we fucked if we lose this level?
I think we're coming
retrace. What's going on?
I think we're going to make a nice big W there. Look at that, because that is the middle part of a W in theory. We're going to bounce off that green little line you got there at 1915, and then we're going to absolutely skyrocket. Do you know why? Because that's how the markets work.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have our perma bear who has declared his prediction. My prediction remains the same as it's been for a while now, and that is that I don't really care about the fundamentals anymore in the crypto space. What is traditional finance doing? How is traditional finance playing out? And then whatever's happening on the other side of the fence is going to happen in crypto, multiplied by maybe 2 or 3 times. That's what's been happening, and I don't see it changing anytime soon. And when it does, I will be swinging from the chandeliers and celebrating. But it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. We've got the big dogs meeting tomorrow, and the question is: Are they going to raise it by 100 basis points?
Yes, they are, most certainly.
And this is why the crypto market, in my humble opinion, is doing exactly what it's doing right now. And it's interesting to see how you can when the price of Ethereum, okay, because the darling at the moment is Ethereum. Ethereum's been doing exceptionally well. We know this. It's been pretty much outperforming everything, besides, the odd shitcoin here and there and Matic. And there's a couple that have slightly outperformed Ethereum, but Ethereum's been really, really strong. You got the merge. You've got all these amazing fundamentals. And then along comes TradFi, and all those fundamentals go out the window. Listen, there is an argument that states that Ethereum is still, it's sitting at 1,400 now. There is an argument that can support the fact that Ethereum is still holding its own, which in many ways it is. But, with the fundamentals that is the merge, I honestly would have expected it to have done better than what it's doing right now. So, in summary, my prediction is that TradFi is calling the shots. Still is, and it's not looking like it's going to change anytime soon.
It is kind of pathetic, isn't it? Even if you wanted to count it as the furthest out risk-on asset, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense. But I think if you try and make sense of the markets, then that's why you're going to end up getting chopped up and spat out by the algos and those people who have the edge in the markets that the rest of retail don't. Let's have a look at ETH BTC.
It's like, I got caught offside. I had 2 trades with Solana that I did really well with. I actually made some good turns on it, both on longs. And and then I opened a third long. It looked like it was Friday. It was Friday afternoon, Euro time. It was the market really looked like it was going to do what it did the previous weekend. And I opened the Solana long, and I swear to God, guys, I mean, like, I wish I could LARP this. I wish I could tell you that I'd freaking made a whole lot of money on this trade, but it fucking just the opposite happened. It was just like, as I opened the long, literally 5 minutes later, the market just started doing its thing, like in the opposite direction. I'm like, why is it? What the hell's going on here? There was no real significant news to suggest that, things should be going pair, and you're like sitting there scratching your head. And as soon as you think you've got it all worked out, you don't. And everything that I'd made that week, I basically gave back to the market. And it just goes back to what it is that you were saying, Grant. It's like, you're just going to get chopped up. It doesn't matter how clever you think you are. There's very few people that have got an edge in this market. And if you do have an edge in this market, kudos to you, because it's not easy. It's not easy calling it. And as far as I'm concerned, from my perspective, a lot of it is gambling at this point in time.
And from that loss, what did you learn?
I think the most important lesson that I learned is that I've said this before, I really have no business being in this market right now, because for every win, there's another 2 losses waiting for you around the corner. For me, anyways. That's the lesson that I learned, is that rather focus on what it is that you do have an edge on, and that's creating content, discussing what's going on in the market, being a part of projects. That's where my business is right now. Me trading in this market is just getting me in a world of pain. And it's as simple as that. There really is no way around hiding that. Trust me, when this market turns bull again, I'm going to go 125x, and I'm going to go all the way. But in this market, I have no business. But I do miss the bull. I do miss those opportunities that we had. Jeez, I mean, it's been over a year now. I mean, it was May 16th when things went pair, right? It doesn't feel like it's been a year and a bit. It feels a lot shorter in a way, even though it has been excruciating.
I think people forget often how long this has been drawn out for. Mm-hmm. I mean, we all know it, like crypto ages and kind of supercharged dog years, where like 1 minute feels like like a week in crypto is like 10 years in the real world. So, but I think people are underestimating how long this has been a complete shit show from. I think November, December, Bezos and Elon started selling, and that was alarm bells ringing. I thought I'd be clever and hold on a little bit longer. And now it's just like, probably just could have held ETH all the way down and probably still be in the same amount of position, just being chopped up to fuck over the past, I don't know, week or so. No edge. Shouldn't be in it.
The thing is, Grant, what's really interesting about the last year and a bit is that there wasn't really an admission by the majority of, in my opinion, by the majority of the crypto community. I mean, obviously it's about majorities and minorities, right? Like the small group are always the ones that are ahead of the curve, and the majority are kind of like scratching their heads. But I think in this case, it really was, we were sitting, I think it was September, we were, we were looking at like previous, if you bring up that Bitcoin chart that shows like, different months of the year, and then also like whether they're up or down, like historically over the last 13 years, like September, that chart. So it's kind of like, the Bitcoin performance per month. So it's like you've got September was always, I think it was September that was always like a real red month. The most red months was September. There we go, absolutely. And we kind of thought, okay, we're just having another bad run with September, and then October's going to come and everything's going to be great. And then October came and it just continued. It really was people stealing money from each other. It was kind of like, I mean, I would be in Discord and And I just knew that it was me versus the rest of these guys in here, and these are all like good lads and the rest of it, but like we're just stealing money from each other. That's all we're doing. It's like, okay, well, this trade I'm going to steal 10 grand of you, and you're going to steal 15 grand of me on the next one, and we never really like stood up and said, guys, you do realize that we're competing against each other. There's the retail left the building, let alone like new entrants. There was the current retail guys left. New entrants weren't even considering it, and then November, December came, and we were like, maybe we should start selling here. And then we kind of conned ourselves again. I sold in December. I was one of the fortunate, but I was probably the 60 percentile, as opposed to where you need to be like the 10 or the 15 percentile. And now we're sitting in July, going into August. I mean, it's the 26th of July, guys, and I think we probably got another year of this.
I tend to agree, unfortunately. I think it's just going to be frustrating more than anything else. And I think it's going to frustrate people out of the market. It's also going to chop people out of the market, and people are going to be left. It's going to be one or two things happen. The people walk away, or people continue adding cash from external sources, and then total market cap continues to grow. Maybe that's in stables, but who knows? I just think it's going to bore people to death. I think it's going to be extremely, I don't know, frustrating and kind of painful. Fake outs, breakouts. Cred was saying something really, really interesting, which I totally agree with, on what's this shoe called? Weekly Open with Ledger. He was saying people are trying to apply trend trading strategies. So obviously trend following strategies, which they've learned in a bull market, which is naturally easy. Buy dips, continue to buy dips, and the overall larger time frame and the higher time frames are net positive and net moving upwards. In this market, you can't really apply those same tactics depending on which time frame you're on. If you try to apply trend following tactics in a range bound market, you're going to get fucked. Equally, if you try to apply range bound tactics in a trend following market, you're going to get fucked. So and I have no edge trading in range bound. I just don't. And this is all this is. Up and down, it's choppy as fuck. We're waiting on information from markets and regulators and the Fed and people like that, where I have absolutely no idea. I know what happens in a bull market whenever there's money getting thrown around all over. I'm usually one of the first in there. That's how I tend to play the markets. That's how I tend to win. It's just you kind of get drawn into the cycle where it's like, well, you kind of think you've got a better edge than you actually do, and then the market proves you completely wrong. And that's what's kind of happening now, which is a little bit shit. But I don't know. I still think what you were saying, ETH, people are willing to buy ETH at 3,500 on the merge narrative. And I know an awful lot of money and liquidity has been sapped out of the market, but 1,400, 1,500, what's it get up to? Just touching, what was the recent local high? Well, that's a Ethereum classic. You don't look at that. Fuck me. 1664. People front running the 1,700. Like, if that is the highest we get pre-merge, that's pretty pathetic in my opinion.
Dan, just coming back to you like your W's and your M's. Can you kindly please tell me? I mean, I see W's and M's all over this chart, but it's ranging. Like, what happened to fundamentals within TRI? Like, I mean in terms of like what the guys at TRI are teaching, like where is this going? Because right now, like, if I look at the fundamentals of reading charts and making predictions and all that kind of stuff, what ETH's doing right now is just completely making a mockery of all of this. So please help me here, dude. I'm losing faith in the magic of drawing lines on charts.
Oh, never lose faith. Never lose faith. Because what's happening right now, ladies and gentlemen, that is a Bart Simpson. So I think we're going to be coming down the moving average. Once that Bart Simpson is out the way with a big old dip, then I think it will start getting back to normal. But now, like, if you do look at that, it was like almost like a fake out of a W coming down into that W, but then it decided to go down, but then shoot up. So like that looks like an M that should have dipped and gone down, but it didn't. It kind of like bounced into a W here. But I know the markets are just kind of like all over the place at the moment. I feel like they pump out of nowhere and then they'll all of a sudden just like absolutely dump. Is it the market makers? Probably. Do the actual fundamentals of an actual coin matter? Not at this stage, not really, I don't think. Because I think even the coins with the best fundamentals are still getting absolutely demolished, because if I need to pay my bills, I don't care whether I hold Ethereum, I don't care whether I hold Microsoft, I don't care whether I hold Amazon. If I need money, I'm going to sell one of them. So I think it is, like we were saying earlier, I think a lot of it is dictated by TradFi right now, and I think it will be dictated by that plus what's going on in the world, because I think I need to look after my bottom line, and my bottom line is being able to stock the fridge with apples, chicken, and eggs. You know, my bottom line right now isn't worrying about what, you know, Bill Gates doing at Microsoft, or what Vitalik's doing with like a 2.0 merge with Ethereum that should have come out like a year ago. You know,
yeah, it makes sense.
Risky at the moment, sure. If you can play ranges, wait to the top and then wait to the bottom. But you know, they are making a mockery of our W's and M's.
You're 100.
I'd be surprised if we lose 1400. If we do lose 1400, that's it's incredibly weak, in my opinion. I mean, it's setting up perfectly for weekly. And I mean, I think there's been anticipation. You've seen open interest drop. Your anticipation going into this week with Fed, with a lot of big earnings. So I think people have just been risking off in the market, taking a little bit off the table. But it's coming into that level where people are interested again. Usually it's kind of sell the rumor, buy the news. There will be fuckery on the announcement of 75 basis points. I mean, there's...
Or I'm going to throw it out there. I think they're going to announce 100. I think they're going to follow Canada's suit, and I think they're going to create more short term. So when they do bring it back down to 50, which is what it should have been all along, 50 now seems painless, and it now looks like that they're solving the issue quicker. Because it went 75, 100. Let's say they do 100 again. Awesome. Then they chop it down to 50. It's like, whoa, you know, they've really got it in control. But 50 basis points was always going to be the norm, right? So I think they're setting themselves up to make it look really good when we do have the actual midterm elections later this year.
Pretty good shout, actually.
Very good call.
Yeah, I like that.
I like your call. I think I would go with that as well. I think, Dan, you present a very good argument, and I think the midterm elections, I mean, you're 100% correct. I mean, that shit is more important than anything, you know, for these guys. It's like, how do we win the elections? Well, we make ourselves look as good as possible so that we can go and tell them how good we are, even though we were the reason why they're in this world of pain. And it's amazing. Amazing.
If you actually look at like historical midterms, this year is always absolutely shite. Like the first 6 to 8 months, historically, in midterms, are shit. They are down, like astronomically down. And then when it does come to the final quarter of the year, ironically, that's when the midterm elections are, everything starts to pump. So whilst we probably have like another year of, you know, just this absolute shit show going on, I personally feel that towards the end of this year, we might get a Santa Claus rally, which if we do, hell yeah, woohoo. Merry Christmas. You know, we're getting a fat day, guys, and you know, we're going to get the best run for the Christmas pudding. But it's something to keep aware of. And one thing that I saw in the news yesterday, which is really interesting, is Ukraine and Russia are making a grain deal, right, for the export of grain, but then Russia's still bombing them. And it's just like something's not adding up. So you're making it like a trade agreement with the country that's causing you max pain. It's very bizarre. And like, if this situation finishes, then I think we're going to see a lot more risk on from traders. Massive.
Yeah, there's. Oh shit!
Jesus Christ, what's that? Never clicked that button before.
I mean, how is wheat not sitting at $200 here?
Yeah.
I mean, how is it not sitting way up? Just coming back to what it is that you were saying around, in terms of where we are at, like economically on a world stage, is that, how does another kind of like pandemic look like, going forward from here? How does that all play out in light of what it is that we saw? I mean, obviously, I think monkeypox right now is kind of like being completely dismissed. But I can assure you, if monkeypox had arrived at the same time that COVID did, without COVID being present, I reckon the reaction would have been a lot more dire as it is now, because people are kind of like, well, we don't really care if there's a fucking pandemic, because like we're in a world of pain, and that world of pain completely outweighs a whole lot of people dying. Have you noticed that? It's kind of like the complete disregard. I mean, here in South Africa, when there were lockdowns, and we were quite strict on our lockdowns, probably more so than anywhere else, because the guys here are very close to China. They're very much in bed together, and they try to follow the same narrative. But this is a third world country, and they realized very quickly that you can't have people living in the ghetto, not working. The already unemployment is like ridiculously high, and they just called it. They just said, okay, enough of this. We're just going to get back to it. And it was business as usual long before everybody else went back to work. And I think that's kind of like, China's still hardcore. I mean, they really are hardcore around the way that they're managing even COVID still, and all the rest of it. I mean, I got mates of mine who are teaching English there, and they only recently were allowed to leave the country after like 3 years. And how does that play out? I mean, imagine America decides that they need to go on lockdowns again. I mean, we're gonna be back to where we were 2 years ago, freaking bull market in hand. So do we want another bull market with the fallout after that, or do we just ride it out?
That's a really good point. Like, I hadn't even thought of that. Would they almost force another bull market? And
of course they would.
A pandemic.
Stimmies, bro. Stimmies. Write another stimmy. Let's go with those stimulus checks. Exactly. Anyway, just something that I noticed. Did you know that we had 11 weeks of straight red with Ethereum? Just bring up that weekly. I didn't even notice that until now. Just shows you how much fun it's been looking.
I felt it from start to finish. I felt the full 77 days of it.
With Grant's charts, like I wouldn't even notice anything. These blues, these pinks, they still don't make sense to me. Because you're making the paint feel so soft. Look at that.
11 weeks.
That's why I had to do these pastel colours, Dan. Because if I see red on the morning, it's just like, right, the dog's getting kicked over the fence, and yeah.
Is there anything green at the moment? And Grant, I totally agree with Cred in terms of what it is that he's saying. Like, we are really. I translate that into kind of like no man's land. It really is a no man's land scenario, and if you're trying to make sense of what's going on right now, and if you think you've made sense of what's going on right now, you're actually conning yourself in terms of making the right calls at the right time. I think there's such a small group of individuals who are able to do that, and the rest are just gambling. That's the way I see the market at the moment. 11 straight weeks on an asset in the crypto space that actually has function has,
It's got the most
you know,
utility out of anything. Like,
just kind of talking about market updates. Have you seen Mr. Eric Wall and his onslaught to the Bitcoin maxis and how useless the Lightning Network
how do you
is,
spell
and
it?
how Mr. Eric Wall, I mean, he is an
This guy?
ETH, he is an ETH maxi,
Is it this guy?
but yeah, you got to follow Eric. Eric takes on the big dogs. He doesn't feel any shame, any pain. He just goes.
let's just listen. If people are watching, can you just take a minute just to read that? Because that is hilarious. That's good banter. That is. I won't say anything too much bad, but that's good banter. That is.
So Eric, in my opinion, Eric calls it the way he sees it, and then he goes into the rationalization as to why he's calling it. He doesn't just call it. He just like, okay, well, I think he'll tell you exactly why he's called it the way that he's called it. And he's pretty solid in the way that he articulates and rationalizes things. Check Eric Wall's game plan. Wake up, call Bitcoin maxis retarded 10 times, get attacked, complain about being marginalized by Bitcoin maxis, switch gender to handle attacks better, call Bitcoin maxis retarded again, exclaim, this is the new Bitcoin revolution, sleep.
I
Can
mean,
you just make note of point 5? Switch gender to handle attacks better.
I mean, controversies always works. Like, I love people who are kind of, it's a little bit tongue in cheek, but you can see he's good. Like he believes in what he's saying. That I also don't like people who retweet their own tweets. So.
Yeah, he's a bit of a strange fellow, but he also took on Richard Hart, and they did a live interview as well recently, where he basically called him a scammer on camera, and it was actually quite cool. But it was also done in the right spirit, Richard wasn't like wasn't belligerent at all. It was actually quite a cool debate between the two of them. And then he also has I love that, the list of the greatest blows to the stock to flow model, which was fantastic. He just takes plan B to pieces on that with his little rainbow thing, the whole rainbow chart.
Well, he was right. This was July 2020.
Yeah, I mean, it was way ahead. I mean, he just called it way ahead.
Oh, just go back to his Medium. There's one word I just saw. So privacy and cryptocurrencies, part 5. BISC, RuneScape, and storage from buying Bitcoin anonymously. All I'd want to know is why is he relating it to RuneScape? Because that is my bread and butter, ladies and gentlemen.
You're gonna have to go and read it.
You're gonna have to go and read his article, and maybe Eric's a guy that we need to get on stream at some point. That's if he'll come on. But I mean, I think there's a lot to be said for where Bitcoin is. Coming back to market update. Where's Bitcoin at the moment in terms of its price? What problems is Bitcoin solving? What problems is Bitcoin solving at this point in time besides it being, something that's being traded? And I'm sure the Bitcoin maxis will tell us there's a lot of problems that it solves, but then why are we not seeing it? Why are we not seeing the Lightning Network being used on a greater level than it is at the moment? Because I know the guys are using it. It's being used. But why not? Why am I not using it? Why am I not using the Lightning Network at the moment so that I can pay for stuff?
So the reason not using it, because it's only used to pay for Twitter influencers if you want to give them a tip when they make a good post. That's always been my understanding of the Lightning Network, because why else would you need it? And then if people start transacting more on Bitcoin, in theory, doesn't that get rid of it? So then it should, in theory, pump the price.
I just send
I mean, look,
USDC
like,
to people through
like guys, just zoom out back into Africa, please, Grant. You want me to tell you where the biggest problem lies here? The continent that needs it the most, right? The continent that needs it the most has got
It's
the
getting
least coverage.
Cardano. Sorry, I need to interrupt there.
Cardano hasn't done what it said it was going to do in the countries. It was Kenya, right? Nothing's going to happen. I've done business in Africa. I live in Africa. You know, this stuff isn't going to happen off the back of governments. This is the kind of stuff that you got to do on your own. You got to come in and you got to do it yourself. And you got to extract the value that is present on the ground. It's not going to get done for you. This is not the first world. You got to go in here and you got to do it yourself. This is Africa, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the reason why we're not seeing coverage on the scale that it needs to be. And let's be very clear here. People use their cell phones in Africa. It's a form of currency and it's a form of trade. You use airtime on your cell phone to trade. Africans know how the principle of person to person works. If I need something from you, I can pay you in airtime in Africa. I was up country on the East Coast. I was in a rural area where people use their airtime as currency. Why are we not seeing this in the crypto space?
The shit poor amount of nodes and channels in Africa is
dismal.
That paints a huge picture. That
it says it all. 100%.
Coming out from are we out there? Singapore.
Yeah.
Aussie, pretty low as well, to be honest. But you've probably got the same. You've got more.
Got way more infrastructure in Asia and Australia than you do in Africa from a telecommunications and internet perspective. What Africa has got cell networks. The cell networks in Africa are very, very, very effective. Yet we're not seeing nodes. Guys are not running nodes. Guys are not being incentivized. Okay, so here's my take on it. I don't think that people in Africa, or anywhere for that matter, are being incentivized to run their raspberries on nodes. People need to be getting value for that. They need to be getting paid to run those nodes off this network. This network earns fees. The only people that I see that are earning the money on this Bitcoin network are the miners. But node runners need to be paid as well. As soon as that starts happening, this whole network becomes completely global. Right now, it's just Europe and America. That's all it is, and a couple of places in South America, and that's it. Even Asia's underexposed, in my opinion.
Yeah, because isn't that their argument against proof of stake though? It's only validation for those who can afford, or the rich people, because it favors those who have a larger amount of ETH staked on particular validator sets. But doesn't this current setup in its current form just completely favor those who can go out and set up huge mining farms and
correct
churn up the hash rate to levels that those who run in a small bit of kit at home or anything like that is just completely out of the question to go ahead and say that they're going to be churning out any profit, depending on where they are in the world. On was it Friday, Dan, we were on? How much was it to mine one Bitcoin? Like $17,000?
Yeah,
$13,000.
$17,000.
Isn't it 13? Or is it now 17?
It was 17, and we were saying does rise in energy costs obviously lends itself well to miners realizing the gains a lot quicker. If you're in certain parts of the world, everyone's facing rising energy costs, right? Depending on where you are in the world, and those hubs that are getting affected more and more by the increasing costs. If I was a miner, I'd be thinking twice, because it's one part of the equation, the energy costs, and obviously the hash rate comes in that as well. And there's obviously a little bit more variables in there as well. But if you've got one of your larger variables in that energy costs are rising, you're probably more likely to realize the Bitcoin that you have mined as opposed to hold on to it, particularly if it's getting so close to break even as well.
So there's this argument. This is actually quite interesting, because I mined Bitcoin for 6 years. Okay, so I mined it just before, so it was the beginning of 2017, and then obviously through the bear, and there was this whole idea that, you know, like the price of Bitcoin will never go below the price of the cost of mining it. And I can tell you right now that might apply for the guys that are paying 0.001 cents, US cents per kilowatt hour of power. That's fine. You'll always be profitable, even if it goes down to $3,000 at that point in time. But for the majority of the guys that are out there mining, it was never cost effective. I mean, I ran my facility that I ran. So I didn't run a big facility, but I ran a facility where, you know, obviously there was the biggest expense was power. And it was like, you know, there were like 150 rigs, and it's like I had S9s running, and I ran that thing during the bear at just break even. And it was kind of like, what the hell is the point? You know, like you invest all this money and you got all these bills to pay, and it was like, why isn't the price, you know, like double what it is right now? Like that was the question. Like, why not? And I think the reason is that there just isn't enough of a demand in terms of what Bitcoin was intended to do. And that was that it was supposed to be a peer-to-peer payment network. That was what it was built to do. It was there to solve the problem of guys, you know, creating all these problems with your money. That's what Satoshi did. He didn't want, you know, the financial institutions and governments to basically control the whole system. But now what we're seeing is that TradFi is controlling the whole system. It's like it's part of that whole thing, and we're further away from the purpose of what Bitcoin was intended to do than we were on the day that it was created. Yet it exists, yet it's out there, yet it has all this functionality and this power to really make a difference in people's lives. And as far as I'm concerned, it is not being maximized to its potential, not even close. It's probably at 10%. And the 10% utilization is the fact that it is the most powerful network in the world. Michael Saylor is 100% correct. In essence, Bitcoin is one of the greatest things that we've ever created in terms of where we are as a civilization, in terms of network effect, in terms of how it works, yet it's not being utilized to the extent that it should. And all you got to do is you got to go and look at the Lightning Network and how they've just completely and utterly discounted the fact that you've got one of the most powerful internet using societies in the world, which is namely Africa, and it's not being utilized because everyone's too caught up in their first world fucking comfort zones, and they're not actually going to where it's needed the most. My rant is over.
And then my argument with someone like that would be then who's like Bitcoin seems, and I could be completely wrong here, just as like the disclaimer. But then who's like the dev team behind Bitcoin then? And then if there is no dev team behind it,
there is a dev team. There is a dev team. It's probably the dev team behind Bitcoin is pretty solid. But the interesting thing about Bitcoin is because despite it having all these problems that we're discussing right now, it is probably one of the most problem-free environments because of the way that it was built. Initially, it had its issues. Like if you look at Bitcoin historically, and yes, I was very much a maxi in the past, and I'm in essence, in my heart, I am still a Bitcoin maxi because I do believe that there needs to be something that is completely separate to the current system that's in place. And Bitcoin could potentially solve that problem, and it was built to do that. And because of that, even though it had its issues initially, they were sorted out. There were a lot of issues that Bitcoin sorted out initially. I mean, there was at one point in time, there was that hack, which brought about a whole lot of consensus within the Bitcoin community in terms of the developers, brought the guys together. Obviously, we had all those forks. We had BSV, we had Bitcoin Cash. You know, so Bitcoin's been through its pain and suffering. Right now, as a network, in terms of proof of work, I can see why everyone loves proof of work from a security perspective. You know, the energy invested is the security that you get out. I get it. There's a lot to be said for that. But the biggest complaint right now isn't whether we're proof of stake or proof of work. It's the fact that Bitcoin has not been utilized on the power of its network on a worldwide scale, particularly in countries where it's needed the most. You know, the people that aren't banked are the people that should be using this freaking network, and they're not, because the first worlders are too busy trying to sell their bags to the freaking TradFi boys instead of focusing on the purpose of what Bitcoin was built for.
Would you also not argue that for what the purpose of Bitcoin was made for, it might not be being utilized, but it has given way for a lot of other projects to come to life for them then to be utilized?
100%. It is one of the most, but that is
Bitcoin has been a success.
But that is the reason why crypto is such a significant technological breakthrough on so many levels, and that's why there isn't just one road to nirvana here. It's not just Bitcoin, and that's where I disagree with the maxis. Is that why is crypto relevant? Crypto is relevant, in my opinion, based on the real world problems that it could potentially solve. What are those problems? High banking fees, barriers to entry for people that aren't banked. Those are the fundamentals that it was built to solve. So we need to get rid of the Ponzi's. We need to get rid of all these ideas. Sure, people love casinos. Who am I to tell you that you can't go and gamble in a casino? There'll always be a casino, and that's going to always be there. But the fundamentals of crypto, in my opinion, comes down to how do we make the internet a better place to transact. Web3 is solid, man. For you and I to be able to transact with one another is the way. It's definitely the way that we need to move. We don't need a third party to do that shit. You know, we've proven that we don't need it, and we can do it at 1/10 of the cost. And that needs to be the primary focus. I mean, we interviewed the guys from Change Finance. If you look at what Change Finance is doing, they are solving those problems. They are giving you the ability to take your phone and go into the DeFi space and transact with pennies. You don't have to pay a bank 50 quid so that you can do an international transfer. I mean, what is that? Who the hell does that still? Most people do. That's what we need to be focusing on. And that is what the Bitcoin network is capable of doing, what the Lightning network is supposed to be doing, yet we're not seeing it happen. Why?
I could probably say I'd like to give a thesis why. Why? Because it's quite simple to get your money in, but then what's probably a lot harder for most people is to get it out. So like you've got this wicked technology. I could like change up all my money to like USDC, move it from like left to right, right to left, up and down, and do like a diagonal swirl to get it to the next point. But then how do I get literally all of that now virtual money that's in my Google Chrome browser? Now, how do I then go and put that out? I think that's the massive barrier. I think there's a barrier of exit in crypto, because the reason it's not being adopted more is because normies can get it in, but then to get it out is a pain in the ass. So I would rather pay $50 getting money from like, I don't know, wherever I was before to back to England, than I would rather putting it into Google Chrome, fiddling around with it, and then somehow trying to work out how to get it out via a peer-to-peer network that looks like a scam because my rating isn't high.
Okay, so do you want me to tell you where the flaw potentially in your reasoning is that you're seeing it as being an in and out process, and that's where the problem lies, is that we are still caught in the paradigm that is banking, and we need to actually, this is one of the real world problems that crypto solves, is that it eliminates those guys where there is no need to have an in and out.
That's the problem though. It eliminates them. You can't eliminate the money makers because they're the ones that control the world. Do you want to go real like conspiracy theory? You want like the Illuminati, the Rothschilds, the Freemasons. They're the ones that are in control here. I think Satoshi was a Freemason, if I'm completely honest. I think that's definitely going to be true. But you're saying
I'm putting that in the headline. Satoshi was a Freemason.
Imagine the maxis. They'll come down and
the maxis are coming after me. It's all right. This is a very average-looking English house. It's fine. Like it looks like everybody else's.
But Dan, you're 100% correct. I believe that you are correct.
I can't go to Sainsbury's like I did this morning. Get my debit card out, and I can't use my USDC. Like I tried to the other day. I was explaining to this lady, look at all this. Look at it. But you can't use it. So the process isn't so much, like you said about, everyone's focusing on the exit. It's the focus on the use. I can't use it. I can't use it unless I'm, unless I'm using it on like Uniswap or I'm using it on an exchange. There's not yet a real world use for it, which is where I can see them doing the CBDCs, but then that causes more problems, I think.
You do realize that you can get a Binance card that works with Visa, and you can pay for any of your stuff at Sainsbury's with your Binance Visa card. You do realize that, right?
Yeah, but I don't want to support CZ.
But this is what we're talking about, is that the opportunity to be able to spend money from the crypto space, as you so eloquently said, you brought it in, you've made a whole lot of money on your shitcoins or your Ethereum or whatever the case is, and you want to now spend it. You can do that. There are ways to do that. And the more we progress, the more we get rid of the predominance of casinos in the space, and we actually bring in these real world solutions, then I believe we'll get the adoption that we're looking for on a scale that will end up making a difference in people's lives, and they don't have to be a part of a bank directly. So you're right. The banks will always want a slice of the action, and they always will, because they've been around for long enough to know how to play this game better than everybody else. That's not going to go away. I agree with that. But at the same time, there needs to be those solutions which make things easier. And the only way that's going to happen is if there's participation on all levels in all countries for all people, not just for the privileged, not for only for the first worlders, not only for us, but for people that need it the most. And that's why this whole idea with Cardano going into Kenya and doing all this stuff within the schooling system was so freaking awesome. But we know that there are challenges, and the challenges are from someone who lives in Africa and who has done business in Africa. You've got to go and do it yourself. You can't rely on governments and third parties to do it for you. And this is the lesson that first worlders need to learn about, underprivileged countries and countries that just don't have the resources that first world countries have.
Can I bring up 2 shitcoins before we wrap it up?
Yeah, and I also want to apologize. I was actually pointing you with my sellotape earlier because I was getting so passionate, and I do apologize.
No need to apologize. We love you with even your sellotape in your hand, bro.
Let me just whiz through a few. Adam's been doing all right. I think everything just looks a little bit shit, doesn't it? That's the problem.
Depends how far you zoom in, because that looks like it's gone on a parabolic run. Look at that, beautiful.
Yeah.
Bring the daily up on that one, please.
People got out with 2x.
No, it's definitely doing better than ETH, isn't it? I mean,
it's the only thing in a sea of red.
What's the blue line, Grant? What's the blue line?
Can't remember what I've got open. 50 moving average.
Okay.
Yeah. What else was looking? I mean,
Matic.
Yeah, I'll come to that. 2 seconds. Yeah, Lido. I mean, what did we get it to there? 192. So you're coming in at 138. So there's been some large profit taken there, obviously. Still doesn't look horrendous, but this could just fully retrace. We just don't know, do we?
You reckon it could go all the way down again?
Well, if ETH drags down, Lido's going to drag down too, because I think people are completely speculating on the narrative of Lido being in that basket of assets that should be affected by the merge. But again, no edge. So I just don't know what I should be doing at this situation. It's probably just be sat on the sidelines. I'm just going to continue to buy ETH, I think, and I've got a couple of smaller caps that seem to be disinterested in what the rest of the market's doing as well. So Meta's got stopped out of that. That began to look good, but it's always important to kind of keep track of what was doing good and what was doing a little bit shit during like the last leg up, because if we come in now and we bounce on any news or whatever, these are going to be the ones that people got on their watch lists. They want to be kind of setting bids for these kind of things. So Mattis was performing really well. Like on KuCoin, it's like $39 bang on the nose.
They're on Coinbase. They're also on Coinbase now. Yeah? They got that last week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, it looked like he wanted to run. It's just the state of the markets, isn't it? You can't. Nothing's going to outperform Solana. I mean, this has been an opportunity cost for me over the past week or so. I should have just been holding ETH instead of Sol. Just try to like hedge too much because the Sol ETH chart looks like fucking AIDS.
That's the Matic and Lido charts look exactly the same, and the Metis chart. They all look exactly the same. I mean, Solana's doing its own thing, but if you look at Metis, Matic, and Lido, they look like they've kind of like, you know, from a performance level, that looks like they look identical to one another, really.
Yeah, and what's
this thing had a great run as well, didn't it?
Yeah, let me see if I can. That's not very useful.
Whoa. That is like literally like a 5 minute old shitcoin that pumped up down and then somebody bought the dip ready to go again.
Yeah, I'm interested in this. I've got some. One, it's completely fucking useless in my opinion, but it seems to be extremely low on a speculative market cap basis for a basket of assets that should be included in the merge, and it's obviously done extremely well. I mean, bottom take on that was like, I don't know, low 40s. So people have had the 2x, people have had the 2.5x out of that, and then just sort of sold off into where it is now. But that was another one that was doing really well. We brought this up in the newsletter. We're going to add a couple more that were standing out in the newsletter for next Monday as well. But, so Xmon, I mean, it's been doing pretty well in my opinion. Like from the bottom, which was like 3,000, we're still sat at like a 5x. So there was opportunity in the market if you were willing to deploy and you were willing to look at what current narratives were kind of on the horizon.
Did you catch this one, Grant?
I think it was about 12-13 I got, so I'm still slightly in profit. But I mean, it did hit 25,000. So
wow, amazing.
This will continue to run if the market allows it. There's no way it doesn't. This gains your exposure. Well, people are surmising that it gains your exposure to the SudoSwap airdrop. Uniswap are going to implement NFT AMMs using SudoSwap.
Interesting.
That's your offer of the day, and that was included in your newsletter. So subscribe to that. It's in the
on Telegram. Do you follow one of those bots that tells you where there's like big buys and big dumps?
No, because I kind of think that it's just whales fucking around looking for exit liquidity.
Yeah,
Grant, bring up W memo, please. So, who would have thought that this was actually going to be the ultimate hedge in the market? Like, seriously, in light of all that went down with this thing, it's held up better than probably most things in the market. And here's your market update, ladies and gentlemen. Daniel Sesta made a post yesterday that they're back with time, with new technology, new ideas, and then shortly thereafter, Jaws from Olympus posted saying that they're going to be working, that he's going to be working with time on the marketing and in the team because he's tired of the Olympus guys looking for opportunities. And you can't make this stuff up, ladies and gentlemen. This is hot off the press. You wanted your alpha for this market update. I'm giving it to you now. Take that information, do with it what you want. But man, who would have thought that the number one hater of time is now working with time on a marketing level? I mean, it's something like there's a movie that will be made out of this one day. I promise you.
Does that mean we are going to see Frog Nation coming back with the hashtag 33 nation as well. Is that what this combination is going to be?
Who knows? It might even be like 1919. Who knows what they've cooked up? We don't know. I invited Danny to come on the show. I said to him, we're still waiting for him to confirm, but he hasn't responded. I don't know. It's all very strange. You know, the ridiculousness of this market continues, and that kind of was definitely one of the cherries.
This has been kind of range bound between like 1700 to. I mean, this is having its own kind of field day. This chart, God knows what's going on. That would be some mega redemption arc, wouldn't it? Jesus, 110 million. We'll see.
And to think that this thing was almost at what? What was it at one point? Like $3 billion.
I think so. Yeah, I can't really remember. Something stupid.
I got in early on this one, boys. Way back.
Yeah, I think mine was like 700-800 Best Buy. I don't know. So one more from me. Radiant.
Wow.
Just launched.
Market cap.
What do you think?
20 mil.
11. 4.8 million liquidity for 11 mil market cap.
That's
so
very good. Wow.
I picked it up on Sushi on Arbitrum. It's a lending and borrowing protocol, so it looks like a compound fork, but it's cross-chain. So it's
cross-chain.
It's a multi-chain lending and borrowing platform. What I would say is this is not a long-term hold for me. I mean, those locking APRs, that's pretty high. That pool 2 APRs, like 3% a day.
How long is the lock for?
Not entirely sure.
Okay.
But that's like 3% a day, so you're going to get 3% increased supply just from that. Then you've got obviously these relatively high APRs for borrowing deposits, so you just need to be slightly careful if you want to try and long-term hold this one. Just play the momentum, in my opinion, and if it begins to break down, then just.
So I mean, this is actually really interesting because I haven't seen something like this in a very long time. Not that I've really paid much attention to the market, especially in the DeFi space at this level, but this is really cool. From a, I mean, sure, there's the casino element in this thing, but I mean, we're seeing like a proper bull market narrative in this coin, aren't we? I mean, this looks like something out of, April 2021. I mean, that's what that looks like. It's pretty cool, actually. Didn't think I was going to see that for a long time to come, but that's what it's doing. And it's, how many days is it in now?
1.
1 day. Oh, it's a shame. It's not like a week. If it had been a week, I would have gotten excited.
Yeah, we'll check back in on Tuesday. I mean,
yeah.
As I say, these little nuggets and these little drops and anything we do find in this, you'll see it here, but you'll probably find it in the newsletter first. As I say, it's in the description. We'll make sure we try and include our picks of the week in there as well. So if you do want to pick up on that before we actually go live, the newsletter will be Monday. We'll be recording and releasing on a Tuesday, so you'll probably have the day early, and you probably made, I don't know, probably got a nice return on that. So make sure people are checking the newsletter, because that's where we'll release it first. And if it's relatively small right now, it won't be. Give it a year. So if you want to try and get an edge on the market, look at what we're looking at, then you can go and find it in there as well.
So
any other shit coins?
So what you're saying, Grant, is that we actually do offer alpha in our newsletters and in our streams, even though we do talk a whole lot of shit along the way. If you come along for the ride, there's some money to be made. We do get it right sometimes, guys. Yeah. Don't forget, please subscribe to the channel. Give us a like. Even if you didn't like it, just hit the like button. I mean, seriously. We took the time to do this. The least you can do is bloody well like it.
We need to get one of those like breakfast guys doing like a little DJ rap and everything.
Have you seen some of the intros that the editor's been doing with the cartoons?
Yeah, the intros are amazing. Like taking a clip where we just speak absolute crap, and then he puts it in at the start, and it's actually really cool. I love it. It's pretty cool. That's supposed to be me.
That's you handsome devil. Look at that expression.
Guilty as charged.
I bet you've got a room like that.
You know, the only thing missing there is a lightsaber, but I'm sure that's going to come into play at some point in time.
Don't tempt him.
Don't tempt him. That's brilliant, dude. I love it.
I think that's about it from me. If anyone else has got anything else I want to bring
Hold
up,
on a second. We do have another announcement to make.
Do we?
We kind of put Dan on the spot earlier, and it looks like we are going to up the frequency of our newsletters.
Does that mean, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get almost daily alpha?
Yeah, absolutely. There we go.
Yeah, Dan just needs to tell us.
I'm going to be contacting Nancy Pelosi today for some insider plays because we were speculating what shit coins she was going to be buying. So I slipped into her DM. She has ignored me. So I'm going to try one more time just to see if we can get on the show, ladies and gentlemen. I can't promise anything, but if Pelosi comes on, we're going to fly. What shit coins is she going to buy? All of them.
Maybe we include at the bottom, instead of like our picks, it should be called Pelosi's picks of the week.
Yeah, because I've been watching her Twitter, but that's a bombshell for another day, ladies and gentlemen.
Right,
cool, guys. We've got some more shows coming up. Yeah, make sure you subscribe. We've got some more interviews coming in. It's all happening. All happening.
We've got so many this week. Right.
Cool, guys.
That's over now for me.